Today, I want to revisit my Meri Wonders on overthinking. But rather than talking about overthinking, I want to talk about frustration. Frustration. How many of us have been frustrated in our art? It's okay. It's okay. And I did appreciate the comments on my Meri Wonders overthinking video. There were some really interesting and very, very intriguing discussions out there. And a lot of you pointed out that you don't work in the same way, and that's okay. That's perfectly okay. That was not my point. I'm not trying to change you. I'm just expressing my point of view, my kind of gut reaction that we might be unthinkingly, if that's such a word, headed in a direction that we did not intend. And that's dumbing down our art. And by dumbing down our art, I mean not really putting our wholehearted effort into it. Now, that's how it is for me. I don't expect it to be that for you. You may be out there having all sorts of fun in your projects, and that's fine. I love that. But on the other hand, I think we tend to blame the concept of overthinking when we get frustrated. Do you know you can get as much frustrated in your spontaneous art as you can in your overthinking art? So I want to revisit the chart that I made here in my first video. And I want to talk about discovery points because, and then here again, this is just my opinion. This is how I'm viewing it. I don't expect everybody to agree with me. I don't expect you to agree with me. But it's been my observation in my own work that when I get frustrated, I've hit a discovery point. I've hit an opportunity to learn something. And too often, I miss that opportunity. There can be as much of a discovery point in your spontaneity art and as much in your planned thinking art where you're planning everything out. You can get to the point where you get frustrated here. But generally, I find that people, when they're overthinking it, they've reached a point, they've reached a discovery point. There's something in there that they're not accomplishing, and it frustrates them. Here, the discovery point is more positive. It's like, wow, it's the wow factor. Over here, the wow factor really doesn't happen until you work down and finish your project. Or maybe you've discovered something new. That's a wow factor. But I want to talk more about frustration in this video. When do you get frustrated? What things frustrate you? And how do you work through it? And one way to think about it is just to put it away for a bit. And that's a very valid concept. Walk away from it. Clear your mind. You're too deep into it. You're too close to it. Clear your mind. Walk away. You may walk away for an hour, a day, a week, a month before you come back to something. I generally wouldn't wait a month because by then you're off into other projects. But that is a very valid way to handle a frustration point. Another way to handle it is to analyze it. And by analyze, I don't mean some big, deep, conceptual chart. I mean, look at it. And in my Mornings with Meri on October 16th, my very early mornings at 4:30, I hit a frustration point. I hit a discovery point, and I'm going to show that to you. I'm going to show it to you now. Let me set this aside. Let's go to my faces journal. I was going to do a fun face, and I was going to base it off. I was using as reference only. I'm not copying it. I'm not selling it. Just looking at it and just getting an idea from it for a geisha gal. And this was the picture. Now this picture is in a book. I love the photo because it's of some geishas. And I love this one in particular, but that photo is really small, and I want to do a fun face of an entire page, and she's probably maybe at the most a 1/2 inch by a 1/2 inch. So that right there frustrated me. But what I did do is I snapped a picture of that photo just for my own use, and here it is. But I did not work off of this. I was working off of this photo, and I reached a frustration point. And if you watched my video, you will have seen me working through this, and I'm still frustrated with what I have here. I'm frustrated with this part right in here. And I knew, as I was working on it, that I had her face too long, too fat. I had her chin way down to here. I had her forehead and her nose just, it was not working for me. And my paint, my white deco art paint is so much more transparent than this apple barrel paint. Finally, I got this out just to paint out some of the lines in here, and I kept saying, thank goodness that the geisha gals put a lot of white makeup on their face, because I was painting this entire area out several times. And in here, I painted out the background. And I was still working on this. Unaware to me, I did not have my phone plugged in, and after about 3 hours, it ran my video down because I did a live session. I did other projects before I did my fun face, and it turned everything off. So I had to wait for that phone to charge up just a little bit more to come back online and end my session. But I'm still not happy with this face. Now, am I frustrated to the point of tearing it up and throwing it away? No. No. There are parts that I like about this, and let's talk about that. Always look at your piece when you're frustrated. What do you like about it first? What do I like about this? Let's hold my hand over the negative part. I like the flower. I like what I've done in here. I love this red background. I love her black hair. I love how the colors go together on this page. I love this white makeup. I don't have to work with a lot of skin tone in here. But I'm frustrated. And I look at this now, and do you know what I see? Do you really want to know what I see? My negative thoughts say to me, Meri, what you have painted here is a fun face, but it's not a Japanese girl. This is an American girl of another culture, another nationality, trying to be a geisha. That's my negative reaction to this. So what do I do about it? See what I'm saying to myself? I'm not saying I can't draw faces. I'll never draw a geisha. It won't happen. What I'm saying to myself is, what don't I like about it? And I have narrowed it down, well, kind of to her ear. I'm not unhappy with her ear. I had it much larger, and I've made it smaller. But if you look at the photo, when I go back and look at this reference photo, and I've enlarged it, you can't see it too clearly, because this was just a little teeny beansy face on my book page. And it was really hard to see, but I've enlarged it somewhat. It's all blurry. It's not a clear picture. But if you look here, she doesn't even have her ear showing. So I might paint that ear out. That's one thing that I might do. I did enlarge her hair back here. But if I look at this, her the bun of her hair actually sticks out a little bit further, and it's a little bit more narrow down here. Her head is tilted. I don't have her head tilted. Her head is tilted, probably not enough to even call it an angle of her face. Her nose. I struggled with her nose this morning. I struggled with her lips. I left her lips red just to give a little color on her face. Now, I didn't even attempt the eye, but the angle of her face and her nose, I've got her nose, it's not a bad nose. I'm not unhappy with the nose as far as nose goes, but it's not this gal's nose. This gal is looking down, so her nose does not protrude out as far from her face. Her nose on here is almost a part of her cheek. It covers up her cheek here. And her other cheek comes like that. I've got her area in here of her face is much wider in here. Much wider than it is between her hairline here and the end of her cheek. I've got way too much area in here. And then, of course, her kimono comes up and above. And this is really an interesting picture because if you could see it, she's holding this beautiful fan. I might try her again, full figure, but not in this book. I really enjoy this picture. But what was frustrating me in here was this area. So when you get frustrated, after you've walked away, after you've done some other things and you come back to it, start looking at it with a critical point of view. What's frustrating you? Not only were all of these things that I was talking about, this area in here as a point of frustration, I was doing a live stream. That frustrated me. I was doing a live stream and the whole world, well, not the whole world was not watching me, but my video's out there. Anybody in the world can watch it that has internet access and goes to YouTube and finds my channel. So in a sense, anybody in the entire world could see my failure. And I had this little negative voice. You know how they say you've got a good guy on one shoulder and a bad guy on the other shoulder, a little devil over here just whispering negative things in your ear? Well, all the time I was doing this little guy, while I was doing it online, was saying to me, "Look, Meri, you aren't so great. You did that Meri Wonders video on overthinking the other day, and look what you're doing here. What a mess you're making. And everybody's watching you. Ha, 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 ha." You know? And I have that little voice whispering in my ear all the time that I'm doing this, and I'm frantically trying to figure out what, you know, I'm just not talented. I can't get the angle of her face. She looks like an American girl who wants to be a geisha. That was frustrating me. I was in a period of frustration this morning. Well, luckily my phone ran out of battery juice and shut off. So that forced me to walk away from it. That was a breaking point for me. So I came back on, and I'm looking at it now, and I'm going, well, what are you going to do about it? You know, I've identified several things. I'm not sure that I'm going to touch this again. I might list out some of the things here that I've identified, or maybe even on the back of her. I was not going to cut out around here, but I might now. And I might, on the back of here, list the things in here that I am not happy with on this. What frustrated me? And I might just flip to the next page. I'll see you on the next page. That's kind of where that phrase comes from. Start a new page. Try it again. Get out your photo. Get out your sketchbook. Practice the angle of the head. Practice the lips, the nose. Just do some sketches while nobody's watching. Well, that's kind of what I want to talk about, discovery. If I would not revisit this, I would not grow. I would not be coming at this, using the opportunity of my frustration to identify my growth areas. And I know for a fact that when I do heads that are in profile, whether they're looking down or looking up, I tend to make them either looking right at me or looking straight that way. I still need to grow on the angle of the face. It's just a growth point for me. I had a lot of frustrations coming at me this morning. I had this little devil over here whispering in my mental ear, and I was dealing with the camera. I was dealing with not getting the white paint that I wanted here. Finally, I got out my apple barrel paint, which I really do believe is more of an opaque paint. I was dealing with the black marks that I have showing through here. I was dealing with a lot, and that was frustrating me. So what I want you to do is not give up when you get frustrated. I want you to maybe walk away, but come back and look at where your growth points are. And I would say to you, maybe you are growing in another area, but your most important growth point will be that opportunity that comes at you when you're frustrated. It's okay to be frustrated. It's okay to not be perfect. In fact, that's what all these fun faces are for me. They're not perfect faces. They're going out there and having fun. And I got a little frustrated when I was doing this gal too, and I've left her alone entirely. But I'm happy with her when I go back and look at her. It looks nothing like my reference photo. And here I'm just a little bit more frustrated. I think I'll do her again. I think I'll leave this one alone, chart my frustrations, and make a record of them so that I've identified my growth point today and so that I can grow with it. Don't let your frustrations strangle you. Don't let them strangle you. If you have reached a point to where you're stuck, you don't like what's happening when you're doing something spontaneous, and you don't like what's happening when you try to be more controlled, don't try to do either. Get out a piece of paper and do something that you know you can do, even if it's just drawing circles on a page. Maybe just do some doodling. And the doodling does not have to be profound Zentangle. Draw some circles. Get out a stencil. Get out some ink. And just stencil on your page. Anything to get that art vibe going. Don't try to be perfect. And then, after you have done enough of the other type of art projects to where, oh, this is getting kind of fun again, then come back and look at your piece, especially the piece that you were working on when you felt you were struck, whether it's a spontaneous piece or a more planned out piece. Try to identify that point of discovery and try to work through that. That frustration point is a point of discovery. And try to figure out what you need to do to grow from it. Now, I do think between now and Thursday morning, this is Tuesday evening, I think that what I'm going to do is off camera, get out just some composition book paper, look at my reference photo, and start just lightly drawing some faces to get the feel of this lady. It's not going to be a full page, I don't think, but maybe I'll sketch her a couple times before I try to do and this is just a fun face. I'm not trying to do a portrait, but I am disappointed in this one. I reached a point of frustration on this one, and I get frustrated like the rest of you. But I don't think I overthought this. It may have been like when people saw me painting this area several times, they may have been saying, she's overthinking it. But I was trying to find the answer to this face, the answer to what I was doing when I was live streaming to make her look more like an American than a geisha. And when I was looking at it, when I was really doing it, that American thought did not come into me. I knew her nose wasn't right, but I had not identified the angle of the face and the angle of the nose. I hadn't identified that yet. Overall, this is a fun face. She's not a bad example of a fun face. I was out there, I was having fun, but she really was not what I wanted to accomplish either. And that frustrates me to the point that I do think I want to flip to the page and try again. I've watched some really interesting portrait artists out there, and I can't identify the name, but I was watching an interview. The question to her was, how many times when you do a person's portrait do you sketch that person's face before you put it down on your canvas? And do you know, she told me at least, or not told me, she told the interviewer, I was listening in, she told the interviewer at least 40 times. So here we have this very accomplished portrait artist who says to us, I sketch this person at least 40 times before I get to the point that I even want to paint it. And here we, as amateurs, as hobbyists, as art journalists just wanting to have fun, we expect a perfect picture the first time. That's unrealistic. Get rid of those unrealistic expectations and you'll get rid of some of your frustrations. That could be a discovery point too. What am I expecting out of this? Identify it. Am I expecting a fun face? Or am I expecting a portrait to look exactly like my photograph? Those are just a couple things that I wanted to talk about. If you're frustrated, what you can do and how I would handle it when I get frustrated. I did not plan. Let's talk about spontaneity. I did not plan to get frustrated this morning. I did not plan that out. I did plan to paint a fun face, and I wanted my fun face to look like a geisha girl, a Japanese geisha girl. I did plan that out, but I did not plan my frustration. But I saw an opportunity in it. A couple opportunities. I saw an opportunity to follow up on my overthinking video, plus an opportunity to find a way to resolve this area of her face in here. So let's see if I accomplish it. Let's see in the next couple of days if I actually accomplish it to make her look more, not a portrait. I don't want to do a portrait. I want a fun-faced geisha girl that looks like a Japanese geisha girl and not an American trying to be a geisha girl. And I know, as far as the frustration concept goes, I haven't even touched the surface of what you can do. So I'm going to ask you, those of you who have patiently listened to me chatter on all the blah, 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 and talk about blah, 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 blah. I had to giggle. Let's go back to this. I saw this. Did I mark it in here? I think I marked it. Right here, this snowman. Blah, 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 blah. And I should do this. I should paint this as in one of Meri's chat videos. Blah, blah, blah. Except I don't want to be mocked by a snowman. But I got a giggle out of this. I'll probably do a page on this. Maybe of a point that I don't agree with. Maybe that's a way to work the concepts of politics into your art. Put some campaigns, some fictitious campaign ads out here running for president. And here's this, or maybe snowmen running for president of some snow country. And here's this guy over here going, blah, 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 blah. Or maybe an artist saying, what should you do when you get frustrated? Blah, 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 blah. I love this picture. I love it. I'm going to do something with that. So thank you for listening to me talk about a little about frustration. And if you've listened this far, what I was going to tell you is if you have things to contribute to others about how you resolve frustration, please comment in the comments below. I know that I haven't even touched the surface of what you can do. And that's why we have an art community. We can bounce ideas off of each other. That's why I love my live streams. I love my live streams. You guys, you give me all sorts of wonderful thoughts and ideas, and I'm listening. I don't think that I know it all. I don't know it all either. Yeah. It may sound like when I get on my soapbox that I think I know it all, but I know that I don't know it all. And I know there are many different ways to resolve problems. But tell me, what do you do when you get frustrated? Please don't blame your frustrations on overthinking. Please don't dumb down your art either. Go that extra mile, go that extra step when you've hit a frustration point, to not use it as a frustration point, to not blame overthinking it, but use it as a discovery point, a growth point, to figure out where the next step in your artistic skills needs growth. So that's kind of what I wanted to chat about in this video today. Thank you very much for listening to me. Penelope wants to get back in the picture here. I will see you tomorrow morning.